In matched problem 2, we have another batch of examples that are all applications of the same property. So if we take the derivative of x to the nth power, that's going to be equal to n times x to the n minus 1 times the derivative of x. So in this case, we have in part A, we want to find the derivative of f, where f is x to the 6th power. So f prime is going to be equal to 6 times x to the 6 minus 1 power times the derivative of x. So the derivative of x, we have another property for that, is just 1. So this is going to equal 6 times x to the 7th power. Not to the 7th power. 6 minus 1 is going to be 6 times x to the 5th power. Sorry about that. In part B, again, we're taking the derivative of y, so the derivative of this given function, where y equals x to the 30th. So y prime is going to equal 30, because again, that exponent just comes down as a factor in front, times x to the 30 minus 1 power, and then again, times x prime, or times the derivative of the base of that expression. So the derivative of x is still just 1, so this is 30 x to the 29th. In part C, we want the derivative of this expression y with respect to t in this case. So in this case, nothing really changes here. We're just swapping out letters. Instead of this function having x as the independent variable, now t is the independent variable. So we want to take the derivative with respect to t. So dy over dt is going to equal negative 2. And then negative 2 times t raised to the negative 2 minus 1 times the derivative of t. So this is going to give us negative 2 times t to the negative 2 minus 1 is going to be to the negative 3rd power. And the derivative of t is just the same thing as the derivative of x, even though we've changed the letter. It's the same idea. That derivative is just going to be y. So our final answer here is negative 2 t to the negative 3rd. Then in part D, we're taking the derivative of x to the 3/2. And again, the same idea applies. The original exponent comes down as a factor in front. We reduce the original exponent by 1. And then multiply by the derivative of x, which will give us 3/2 x to the 1/2. Or similarly, we could rewrite this as 3/2 times the square root of x. But in general, keeping your answers in this form, keeping your answers with rational exponents is probably actually preferred in this course, just because that's going to make our calculus problems a little bit easier, because that way we can quickly recognize this as x raised to some power, versus having something written as the square root of x takes one more step to come to that conclusion. Either answer is acceptable, but in general, I'll probably stop at this stage.